The search for the meaning of life has taken an interesting turn with the development of social media. You can live a fake life, just broadcast through pictures, and it's genuine to all the viewers, or you can escape your own life and live vicariously through a celebrity or a famous person that you admire. Social media, in theory, connects us more than we've ever been connected before. There should be a sharing of information, there should be a sharing of ideas. The world should be more harmonized with this greater level of connection and understanding. But the absurdity of social media lies within the fact that it amplifies interactions to hell. It's painful to be around other people, and it's painful to be around yourself because at the point in which we are with social media, which is so artificial and shallow, you don't know who you are. Social media isn't a tool to connect, it's a tool to escape. It's a tool to reaffirm your biases, and it's a tool to find your tribe. So today we're going to be looking at the absurdity in modernity and how social media becomes cellular hell. The thesis is social media is an absurd playground which amplifies and perpetuates Sartre's notion that hell is other people. Throughout this video, we will go in depth with these definitions and with these theories, or however deeply we can go with them in a 15-minute presentation. But this is very much centered upon philosophical suicide and how philosophical suicide, denying the absurdity of existence, makes us as rational people looking for meaning. It makes us dig into positions that put us in opposition with the other, with anyone else that's outside of the tribe, and even within the tribe, as we question our tribe loyalty and our virtue signaling of the tribe to both satisfy the others within our group and the others outside of our group. First, the absurd. The absurd is the confrontation between the human need for reason and an uncaring universe. It is sin without God. It is an actor without a script. The absurd is not in man nor in the world, but in their presence together. The absurd is this search for meaning when we're met with a cold and uncaring universe. The absurd says that there isn't a God, there isn't any guiding principle, there isn't universal truths, no universal right or wrong, there just is. Existence is a blank slate, and looking at that void is unsettling. It's not what we want. It's the opposite of what we want. We want meaning so badly, but we can't find it. And that's okay. The absurdist view is that in this lack of meaning is the endless possibility and freedom to change and live however one sees fit, not beholden to the schema, the worldview that's implanted when you join a group. And this is seen as nihilistic, but it's really not. The absurd is a champion of the human condition, the struggle. Sisyphus smiles because the struggle that is pushing that boulder up that mountain every day just to see it fall and repeat. It's a struggle that's kind of funny. It's so pointless and so absurd that if you fall into this nihilistic, where's the meaning in this? Why can't I find any meaning in what I'm doing? You're going to be left in a pretty depressed state. You aren't going to want to live because you aren't finding any meaning. But the moment that you smile in this absurdity is the moment that you actualize your freedom. You're taking the power out of this uncaring and irrational universe. You're taking the power out of the boulder and you're putting it in yourself, in your struggle. And that's beautiful. But it's often misinterpreted to be nihilistic. Denying the absurd is what most do. That is assigning meaning and value, universal right and wrong, to the void. It's thinking that things like right and wrong exist or guilt exists. The absurd says that there are just responsible parties, no guilty ones. Everyone, at the end of the day, is just living their best life trying to make it through what they're going through. The struggle amongst the human condition is universal and it's shared. And the absurd tries to draw attention to this instead of the uncaring universe. But the pitfall to embracing the absurd and to embracing this existential freedom is philosophical suicide. If the absurd is an actor without a script, philosophical suicide is the script. A world explained with reason, however bad, is a familiar world, says Camus. Once you join a group, this is religion, political party, motorcycle clubs, because motorcycle clubs say that motorcycles are better than cars, so your entire schema, your worldview, is dependent upon that implanted schema. Motorcycles are better than cars. And that's fact now, because the group has told you that it's fact, so you believe it. Whenever you see a car, a twinge of anger and anxiety rushes through your body because they don't see it. They don't know the truth like I do. Life becomes a series of if-then statements, which is according to the group. If the group says this, then I act like this. Then I say this. Then I believe this. Then I feel this. The individual doesn't feel or live genuinely or individually. They live on behalf of the group. Individuals who committed philosophical suicide are like walking billboards that the group takes out. But the group doesn't pay for that billboard. The billboard pays to be a part of the group. The individual kills themselves when they confront the absurd. Philosophical suicide is killing one's sense of self. It is taking away this individuality, this 1 in 8 billion people in the world that makes you feel pretty insignificant. It takes that and they sacrifice it for the numbers of the group. There's this argumentum ad populum within groups that the strength in numbers is important and it justifies the views of the group. If there are so many happy and smiling people, then of course I'll join those happy and smiling people to cure my existential dread and anxiety. Religion is the most historical and perhaps the most dangerous form of philosophical suicide. The Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, whatever you want to focus on within religion, especially medieval religion, it's very much warlike and angry and I'm right, you're wrong. We're going to do some very violent things now. But philosophical suicide is much more comforting. Even the bad reasons that groups employ, the fear that groups use to recruit people, is comforting. It's much more comforting than hearing nothing matters. And the groups say that this nothing matters is horrible and sad and pessimistic and nihilistic and you can't believe it because it's going to destroy you and take away from your shot from religion's eyes at getting into heaven or Valhalla or the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. They promise that the existential anxiety and dread is all going to pay off if you live according to the group, if you pay the dues, you wear the things, you eat or you don't eat certain things. Like that's going to get you this special ticket because you bought into the group. And that's comforting. That is the drug to cure existential anxiety, or so says the group. But this dependence on groups that comes with committing philosophical suicide actually perpetuates and actualizes the notion that hell is other people. Two groups cannot both be true if both claim to be the one true group. There's tension and there's hatred and there's judgment because everyone looking at this void of existence, looking into an uncaring universe, Everyone finds their tribe, they adapt their schema from that tribe, and then they're sent back into the world, but all of these tribes exist and all think that they're right. So there's a mutual hatred and judgment that is passed just upon seeing an individual that doesn't have your views or doesn't share your views. Everyone needs approval and affirmation for their group identity. And this can come in two different ways. The group will support you. Your group will say, you're welcome. They will like your pictures. They will comment. They will share what you do. You'll have a ton of followers. Or you fetishize a disconfirmation bias where you send your views out there and then someone says, you're wrong. And then you get to go, no, you're wrong. And then your group will be like, yes, you're right, you did it, we're all a family now. And everyone gets so sucked into these groups that it's impossible to live independently or freely or truly according to one's own will. The will and schema of the group is implanted, and there's judgment passed in that implantation because if you aren't with the group, you're against the group. Everyone outside of the group, everyone outside of the barriers to which the person builds their life and contains their life is an enemy now. But everyone outside of that barrier, the enemies, see you and feel the exact same way. The shallowness, materialism, whatever you want to call it about social media makes this hell, makes this trip from philosophical suicide to hell being other people much more prominent than it ever has been.
Social media is how you prove that you're alive. It's how you prove that you're living. Everything that you do, every post that is sent, every caption, every like that you leave is dependent upon the other. We want the other to affirm our group identity so badly that everything that we post is through the lens of the group that we're in. We need the most likes, we need the most shares, we need the most comments, we need the most attention. Everything is dependent upon the other, and the group that we're a part of dictates what we're going to post, what we're going to like, what we're going to follow, how we're going to act on social media. Every post that we share fills the void of existence. It is shouting out, saying, this is true, and then the people in your group will like and affirm that. You'll never get affirmation from the universe, but you can get it from your group. Another absurd phenomenon is the parasocial relationships that form, these illusionary relationships. We treat social media as though it was genuine, but it's not. But we act like it is. So we think that we're friends and have genuine relationships with these people that we don't know and they don't care about us. Celebrities, celebrity couples. It is so strange and it is so absurd. It is shallow while claiming to be real, and everything is so very obviously constructed. But if we acknowledge that it's constructed, we acknowledge that it's not real, we're left staring back into the void of absurdity, and we don't want that. So this virtue signaling that goes on, this is who you follow, who you develop parasocial relationships with, is dependent upon the group. I am group, I say group value, I post group value. It's modernity's no exit. As they're in the room, the door opens. You could leave, but Inez stops Garcon because Garcon needs Inez to affirm his identity. He needs her to say that you're brave. So he will stay in hell just for the affirmation of others. We see ourselves on social media as an object from the other's perspective. So we present ourselves on behalf of the group that we're a part of. That way, our group will support us and like us and not question our group identity. And the other, outside of the group, will say, you're bad. And the whole cycle of hell and shared judgment, mutual hatred, continues. And that's comfortable because it denotes reason, value, and order. Perhaps some examples are needed. Pandemic Apparel wants you to share the message and the virtue that the pandemic isn't real. Kim Kardashian can be seen here beautifully virtue signaling that we all live on one world. The Sovereign Sister wants you to know that she is virtue signaling the fact that she doesn't wear a mask, because not wearing a mask is on the same level as not doing the Nazi salute. A quick Justin Bieber virtue signal, probably about race relations or something from the past year. If you're a boy with attitude or a boy that wants to be perceived as having attitude, take your next caption from this picture. Is it summer and do you like summer? Use one of these captions to virtue signal that you like summer. Do you like Dwayne The Rock Johnson and money? Then follow this motivational page. While poking fun at virtue signaling may be fun, the point is to see that virtue signaling doesn't necessarily do anything. When you post something like that, say you're a celebrity posting something vague instead of, taking real action, all you're doing is keeping up an appearance. You're virtue signaling to your tribe of followers. If you aren't a celebrity, you're virtue signaling to your tribe, but you aren't doing anything to solve anything. You're simply signaling that I think like this, and you hope that they will affirm you, and if they don't affirm you, then they'll say something, then you get into an argument, and that argument reaffirms your group identity. Virtue signaling is keeping up an appearance that the group wants you to keep up, or the group expects you to keep up. However, there are potentially ways to use social media and not fall into the pitfalls of hell and philosophical suicide and virtue signaling. The first is maybe too easy, but it would just be to leave social media. Leaving this would be avoiding this certain flavor of hell, and this isn't done out of judging social media as bad. They just decide that this absurdity is unnecessary. Life is already absurd, and if that doesn't match with their life or what they want to do, they aren't going to do it. They may just decide that they don't want to go on it because it is so shallow and unnecessary that it's better just to live without it. I think the most likely course of action for the absurdist would be satire. Camus is very big with creativity and giving the void its color. A creative satire would be reflecting the absurdity and the philosophical suicide back unto itself. It makes the other confront the other. They're looking into a mirror and yelling at it saying, "You're wrong," or "You're right," but in a satirical way, they don't really understand that they're getting made fun of. They might, and this isn't done out of any ill will or trying to make them feel bad. This satire is just funny. It reflects the somewhat comical absurdity of life. This never-ending quest for meaning and not finding any, but thinking that we found it and deluding ourselves into believing it and that we're right and everyone else is wrong. This satire could just be a creative way to poke fun at these people and make them look inward. The last would be just to live. The absurdist takes strength and resilience from the absurd. A meaningless universe is not inherently nihilistic. It's empowering, comical, whatever. They smile as they're on social media and they enjoy its absurdity and its hell. But I think this runs in line with the satire. If they're on it, they aren't going to post virtue signal things. They might not post anything. If they did post, it would be satirical. It would be poking fun of the virtue signaling that others engage in. That's giving the void its colors. It's reflecting the absurdity back onto itself, and it's making more people kind of acknowledge the absurdity of what they're doing. Whatever it is, I can't speak on behalf of the absurd person. The absurd is innately undefinable. There's no set of instructions or steps to achieve absurdity. That's counterintuitive to the whole idea. The absurdity is just living in the absurd and embracing the struggle. It is smiling in the face of an uncaring universe. That's the revolt that the absurdist engages in. So, would they use social media with a smile? Would they use it in a satirical way? Or would they just not engage with it at all? That's up to them.